company within working in so many places right now. So I think this is very apt that we are working with the distributed team setup. And feel free to post questions on the chat if you have any, or just ask and you can just stop me. We can just make it more conversational. The topic here is obviously each organization has its own version of implementing Agile or facilitating Agile through Scrum or Kanban, whatever have you. But in that playbook, what's missing is how to make it work in a pandemic. I think the added complexity here, and we've seen it from so many months now, is that uh, things really change. And obviously, we're talking about a psychological mindset, and that mindset is now in so many different directions. It's running across in so many different directions that it's hard for us to focus, and yet what we expect from teams is to deliver consistently, right? I'm not even saying deliver, I'm just saying consistent propagation of the work. So it has to happen. We know what's going to happen. So that kind of leadership mindset has still not changed. It's always there. But the people who are working to deliver that, and largely that people we are working with in everyday life, we are still expected to do that. However, the things around us have changed. So because that has happened to everyone, I'm sure, it's more relatable, obviously, I hope, this talk. And so what I'm trying to give you are some of the things that I've also tried to do. Obviously, like I said, there is nothing in the playbooks. We don't know what to do, but this is something that I've tried and it seems to work. So maybe it gives you some hope for your organizations or your teams to kind of stick around and make sure that you are still able to work with them in a much more, cohesive way. So one of the things that I saw was that people are working with, I don't know, like children in the classrooms no longer, right? Like they're still at their home. For those of you who are parents, you understand that very well. And in India, I think it's much more that people are involved in their child's education. So even if they're working from home, they would still like to attend classes for some of these children. What that does is that organizations now are trying to say, you know what, let's be more open to all of these challenges. I think that's one of the things, is try to accommodate as much as you can from all of the people. The challenge is that everyone has a different story. Somebody has kids, somebody has to do something else. They're just busy working on some other stuff, personal, because that's the kind of thing that's going on. I'm sure that's for everyone, including us and other people as well, including leadership. But I think the mindset never changes. It's always the expectations that people will continue to work as they used to work in the office, but that's not the case anymore. So what we did with our teams was that we didn't do, let's say, the daily stand-ups. If, for those of you who follow Scrum, I think it's very sort of prescribed that you have a daily Scrum meeting in the morning when you start your day, and then kind of run out for a 15-minute kind of cycle, and then that's what you do. We could not do that because some of these people had kids classes, some of them had to go to a doctor's appointment, so it was all mission mash. So what exactly that happened with us, what happened was that I could not really come up with the time with everyone on board. So we kind of switch around that idea of a daily stand-up to a weekly catch-up. But that's still happening twice a week. So we do one on Mondays and one on Fridays. So we don't do it every day for some of the teams, and it seems to still work. We're always more responsive on our chats, on our conversations, and just, we are using Slack as a tool. So we have our meetings, we talk to each other, and there's obviously more increase in one-to-one conversations. But I think that's why it's keeping us more closer to each other, because we still know what people are working on, and the team sizes haven't changed as much. So that's one of the things. The other thing is that there's a group of people who likes working in the office, and I can appreciate them completely, because obviously it brings in less distractions, what we have working with at our homes, right? So because of that, I think some of the people always want to go out, and I don't know in the areas that you live, but where I live here in India, the lockdowns are like just kind of less stringent now, so people are free to move. So what I saw was that some of these teams are really happy working in an office environment. Obviously, we don't condone them violating any of the norms of the pandemic, like, all the things that you need to do have to be done. But I think just visualizing and seeing faces again, looking at the physical boards, because again, if you are in an office space, you utilize so much of real estate, but at your home you're not able to do that, and obviously in your corner where you're working, it's difficult as well. So what we encouraged though for those teams was that, hey, you know what, if it's possible, And I think that's something that was, again, from the leadership as well, that we will try to bring up that sort of environment. Obviously, we have to work the dynamics of it as to how that will work based on a team, or something like a project, for example, wants to work that way, then sure, we can do that. But right now, I think we were quite responsive to at least hearing out some of these things, which was coming from the leadership. So the support was there, which is great. And I think teams need that, because otherwise you would just kind of not want to, come across as an organization who's not listening. So I think that's good that we are still responsive. And I also work with some of the founders, for example, who are outside of our core organization. So they have their own mindset. So how do you navigate someone like that, who's still not used to obviously working with folks in a distributed team, but at the same time wants to build out a product? And how does Agile or Scrum to them mean anything? That it's a valuable method to deliver an incremental value to their customers. So I currently work with two teams, and two such founders exactly are working with me right now. And one of them I'm just kind of ramping up with, and it's just very surprising to me that they're all in different, boats as to Agile. So I think as part of navigating what your team is facing at the moment, which could be different levels of maturity, because some of them we have just onboarded online, like we haven't even met in person. And obviously with these founders who are in different countries, that's still, it's a tough challenge to beat. So I think what's kind of helping me here is that it kind of setting expectations. I think I take the time to speak with them. I like to include them, let's say, on the sprint reviews, just because they will get the insight of what exactly this team is doing. Because while you're far, and obviously you are there to deliver, and obviously you want to work for this particular founder's vision, but that founder needs to see that. And the fun part is that they still have to be involved in all of those meetings or discussions. But because the challenge is that these people are working with different times, how do we navigate that as well? Somebody's working in the Indian time zone versus the Europe time zone. So for us, we kind of figure out what's the best window for us to speak. I like to keep my meetings really short. I think 20 minutes is really effective. For meetings that I need to be on longer for, I like to keep it under an hour if possible. So less time, but it still is more focused. So I think that's something that's really helping me out. And I kind of lead by example, make sure that the teams understand that I work with them, and kind of set the expectations for them as well. But they're always in the know of everything. So I think it's more important to be transparent at all of these times, because when you're in office, you see those conversations happening, at least you hear them. But now, because like I said, more of these conversations are happening one-to-one, people just don't really know exactly what's going on. So you meet up, whether that's weekly, twice a week, and then you still share everything that's needed to be shared. And then we also work with the Trello board, or some sort of form of administration tool for your work, which could be Jira as well. But that's the single source of truth. So how exactly do you want that to work is the expectation you will set with your team. I think that seems to be working well with at least the folks that we are coaching also, like I said, online, but also they see how these teams work. So one of the good things that Ukraine does is that they kind of introduce people with an established team. So I think it's really critical, because what that does is it introduces you to behaviors that are acceptable, and obviously for people to learn. Because right now, with this kind of environment that we are in, it's difficult to see those behaviors if you're just working on by yourself. I don't know what's acceptable. I have no idea. Even if I have a Scrum Master, let's say, or an Agile coach, how does that really work? Because seeing is believing. And I think it's really critical that we are doing this on a level where teams are maturing almost together. Like you're still introducing them to new ways of working, the people who are just joining, but you're also letting them know that this is a good thing to do. And we've seen that work across a lot of the projects that we have delivered, a lot of happy clients, a lot of tractions with those products as well in these times. So I think there's a good job that's been happening. And those people who are working with us go on to other projects and kind of start working with their own teams, right? But now they've learned the recipe almost, and now they're good to go and execute, and then become change agents in themselves. I think that's one of the big things also, is that not one person is a change agent. You slowly introduce everyone so that they all become change agents, but they're all working with the similar mindset. It's not just one thing that everyone's doing, on their own individually in their projects. We're trying to unify as much as possible our processes, our culture, kind of solidify the expectations that we have. And then moving from there, we just want to make sure that wherever they go, they deliver their best. And wherever that best is, it's still going through the company values or the DNA or something like that, which is aligning our people more in these times than if they were in the office. Because again, the office environment is great for all of this, but the challenge here is you're mixing personal with business most of the times. And how do you still deliver? Like I said, the mindset is still always to continuously deliver. The timelines don't change. The markets are obviously reacting in a different way these days. But however, we want to mitigate all of those risks and kind of move on from there. So I think a lot of the lessons we are still learning ourselves, but I thought this was a good way to introduce to you maybe some of these things that you might have gone through in your organizations or are going through at the moment, and kind of share off any ideas that you think are working for you. So this was my little insight as to how we're making things work, and right now it seems to be working. It's obviously in the offing, and we're still working with different founders, different kind of mindsets. But somehow, what's magical is that at least one side is better responsive for all of this. Even though our founders are different, some of them are no code sort of non-tech founders, so they have no idea exactly how a tech business works. But at the same time, working with them, making sure that they're still working with the right teams, instilling that confidence, I think it's critical. So we can steer the boat when they come to our shore, but the point is, how do we go forward from there? So, and that's the kind of things that we have been trying out. For example, I've become more responsive to people in general. Like I listen to them every now and then, and I'm quite good now, I think, with sort of individual learning paths, and obviously their own situations. So as far as I can go ahead and try to accommodate all of these, I do. If not, then we do again agree on something that's more common and just try to make the problem a little bit more visible. Because I think if you're just one person who's working on all of this, it's just crazy, and people will just not know what they are sacrificing in terms of people who are prepared for meetings or they're just ready to go, versus people who will kind of make the plans at the last minute and not show up. So I think it's important to communicate, just become more vocal now, and kind of make sure that your teams know what you're working with here, because we all are trying to set the ship sailing. We just want to make sure that we're still working to our deliverables, and again, working with the founders and have that relationship kind of smoothened out. But at the same point, if it's all on one person, I think it's kind of it's too much. And with our own psychological safety and the way we kind of want to re-energize ourselves, this is going back to the initial questions posed by Naresh. It's very important that you all work with a mind that's at least at some point at the end of the day, it's free. So I don't think about work when I leave at the end of the day. And I think it's really important that people just try to finish up as much as they can, and as much as it's needed, and take it from there. So just not be stressful, really. So those are my sort of tidbits, and I'm really happy to have open up the floor for any questions or just conversations in general. So this would be really nice. Thank you for being patient listeners.
I think it's really interesting times, that actually this is an opportunity for those founders to actually come closer to market.
Exactly.
And I think this is a really great time in a way. So I was sort of curious, you haven't said much about what the behavioral changes are that you've experienced.
So yeah, so the behavior, of course. So the behavioral changes happen in a way that we are now sort of trying to adhere to everyone else, as much as possible. So what that does is that people will just say, doesn't work for me, right? As opposed to if you're in a room, you kind of brainstorm, right? I think it's hard for people to see the kind of ideas that work for others, or collaboration in general. Sometimes I think that's kind of slipping, where people just have that attitude where if it's not working, I will just say no, and I might not want to listen because I have something else going on in the background as well. with my family. So I think it's more of those kind of changes where the attitudes that we see with Agile are just kind of be more open, and all of those things, collaboration and making sure that we're working to deliver customer value. I think that does impact down the road. And with so much stress, I think that everyone's being exposed to, people have picked on some of these things head on, and so the personality has changed. So it's kind of, that's what I'm kind of looking at here. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Because the other way around. I see it as that how wonderful it is that Agile is actually working and it's bringing all this to the surface, because that's actually
yeah,
what the underlying tensions already, they were there before COVID, during COVID and after COVID. So
right,
it's like it's a massive opportunity to actually for everybody to grow in Agile. Whether we do or not, that's a different question. But
right,
there is this opportunity of seeing these things. It's just that happens to be now the camera is not in the office, it's in your living room type of thing, and so you're seeing the things that we decided that we wanted to hide. You, that you can't hide them anymore. Well, you can try to, but it's
yeah,
they're too close to the surface.
correct. And hence the challenges, right? Because I think
Yes, hence the
what you
challenge.
said, is actually right. It was all slipping under the rug,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's more exposed and
Yes.
it's more visible, and we're interacting with it every day.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you make Agile work? And someone just rightly pointed out before this, I mean, in the original call, was that will Agile survive?
Yes.
And I was like, wow, that's quite an extreme. I never even thought about it.
Yeah.
So it's something like we are on a journey here, all of us. But exactly how that's going to pan out, and like I said, there's nothing really in the playbooks that we have to mitigate. So it's good to see them coming up, but I think those challenges are kind of interesting based on where you're working, who you're working with, who are the stakeholders, and how your teams are really becoming useful to understand and pick up on these behavior changes. Because I have people who will say, you know what, this was working before and now it doesn't seem to work. So what we do about that? So just talking about retrospectives, I think people's attitudes were really, in one way before the pandemic, and now it's more like, well, I had to sit and talk in half an hour. I might as well do something else. You know what I mean? So people will dodge times, try to dodge times or get out of it. But
But
we're just
yeah, that was probably their original attitude anyway, though.
it would have been,
They
but
just were,
yeah,
agreeing in the office space because of peer pressure in a way. And now that they're in their own homes, you feel like you can be more of a personality.
yep.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
a
you.
lot of different aspects. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we're working with people, and people change, and it's very eye-opening actually to see that happen in front of
Yeah.
you, and it's
Right.
so fast. I would never have imagined. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and Varun, very nice explanation. Like there's a lot many things which we can learn from your experience. Very nice for share, and thanks a lot for sharing those experience. I just curious to know about. You said that the expectation of the value delivers pre-COVID and the post-COVID was the same. Like the leadership expecting the same value to be delivered post-COVID also. And when you said that you have changed some, adapted something, like for instance, you have adapted the daily stand up to weekly stand up or something like that. So
Mm.
are you also evaluating the impact of that change on the value deliverables, or because there's a two things which you need to balance during the COVID thing. One is uh, work work-life balance, and the value which being committed. So
Mm-hmm.
how this tweaks or changes in the event or ceremonies impacting your value or impacting your personal individuals or team's personal life, how you're how you're sensing that impact.
Well, that's a very good question. And to be honest, we had to do trial and error on this, because we never did it like that before, where, because when we were in the office, we were doing daily stand-ups every day. So I'm just taking an example here where we kind of shifted. And mind you, we're working with distributed teams as well. So with all of these different dimensions, what I did actually was that let's introduce something first and see if it is working for everyone else. Because again, if I don't know if it's working, how can I assure the team will be confident to deliver on something like that, right? So I took everyone's opinions, I took ideas as to how they think it should work. And because I think the buy-in aspect is really important, you need to have the buy-in of everyone, because we're still delivering as a team. It's not my or Srikant's deliverable, it's everybody else on the team. So I open it up to the floor. And this was very early on within the projects that I joined, is that, okay, this is what I'm intending to do. Do you think, there's a way for us to work here? Like if we are facing situations where people are not able to make it on time for something of a daily stand-up, what exactly can we do? But still try to, mirror that sort of output. So how that will work is something that we open up and we discuss, and that's really important, because I don't prescribe anything that I don't know. That's a bad doctor. But at the same point, you do want to make sure that people understand the trade-offs. So if you don't want to make it on a daily thing, but at least ensure that the Trello board is updated, right? Be more responsive on the channels. Make sure that you're able to deliver at least your task, and if you're blocked, alert me, right? Or alert anyone else that needs to be alerted. So I think we became obviously vocal, but also more sort of diverse in our communications. So it's not just speaking out in a meeting; it's more about actions. And I think because that action is visible, it's tangible. People see it on the board; they're notified. So it was being picked up, and those are the kind of attitudes that didn't make us astray. Like we kind of made a very cohesive way to work together on those things. So with the founders, it's important, or people that other stakeholders who don't know what's happening or what's changed. It's important that the mindset needs to be, set again for them. So I think everyone's more open to listening at this point, which is good. And you do want to take advantage of that. You do want to speak up and let them know that, what, this is how the team is working, and this is what we expect to deliver. So we do want to share with them exactly what's happening. When is that? And if it's a delay, how far of it a delay it will be. We're taking them and making them more inclusive, because a lot of the times the mindset changes because the leadership, and by leadership I mean people who have stakes in this project. For us, it works. We have our own people who form the leadership within our company, but then also leadership means from the founders. So when we do that, it's just more like, well, if they're not inclusive, how would they know? So having those touch points is really important. And in terms of delivering value, as far as I know, I kind of by doing all of this, I haven't slipped on anything yet. And if we do slip, we make sure that we let them know early, because again, that's setting expectations, instilling the confidence that the team is still delivering. However, if there's anything that's blocking them, we will let you know. I think that's more appreciated in these times, as opposed to agreeing on a deadline and kind of not being able to deliver on the last minute. So we do introspect on our processes. We do open it up to the people and then see what's working and what's not working. And that's part of Agile, right? Like we just want to make sure that whatever we introduce is at least tried out first. And if it's failed, that's fine, because we do want to encourage fail fast, right? So you fail and then you still adapt. So in doing that, the team is more open. And I think that's what's bringing us more communication, more collaboration, and we haven't slipped from it as much as I thought we would, but luckily it's been working out.
Yeah, more using of tools so that it will be visible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, communication
Yeah.
tool like team
I
meeting.
think here there is one essential point to notice, and that is the way our stand-up meetings now, people
Mm.
used to somehow, deliberately or, otherwise, people used to somehow miss the meetings, right? And they used to see these boards and get associated with them. And ultimately, one aspect is, okay, you are doing that really well, that okay, every 3 days at least you have the meeting, yeah. But ultimately, if you have a devised mechanism in which whenever the board is updated and you have some at the rates or some ways out of that, that if they have an impediment, when a particular person can sort it out, you know in the team, and they need collaboration, the involvement of the scrum master or the agile coach, whoever it is, who is the master of the entire act ultimately on that, they should be able to, master onto that and muster that courage that to get associated help required. That a lot of people are working on these kind of things. The other thing that I like to point out from the retrospective point of view is
Yeah.
that if you have a seasoned set of questions to be answered, it can be still taken off really well. You can, okay, we always liked face-to-face meetings. We
Yeah.
always liked it to be cooked out well.
Yeah.
Somehow it ends. Every time you had a retrospective, everybody in the team will feel a gasp of relief oh it finished.
Yeah.
But that mentality today has to be changed.
Exactly.
You have to have very, we always, before even Agile came, there was a format of what you ask is what you get.
Mm.
The mirror thing that we'll have to work out now more specifically.
Yeah.
And
I
one
think.
more point
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
have to make here, and which is when you say, you have a impediment driven approach wherein a person is not coming in line, you are never able to have, you are having a behavioral issue on a long term. It becomes essential to, tap the guy in somewhere or the other, be it even people are using WhatsApp to find out everything is okay. When can we talk?
Yeah.
When can we have, get him onto a live chat, bro? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
we are working like that only. Those people who are shirking from the meeting or who are not able to come on this. And the third thing was that those boards must be updated within 2 hours of the deadline. Everybody
Okay.
has his impediment or done anything or the other, and it should give the thing, a perfect picture. Another thing which I have to suggest is those stories, if you have that remarks thing going on and date wise you have a remark on those on in progress,
Mm-hmm.
you can even ask them to put a impediment there. Don't mind it, let them put it. Say whatever you want to write right there. I
Mm.
want to know more and more of you.
Yeah.
And do some, games. You must do at least once a week. Like for example, we organized a singing game. Now I am also into salsa and some couple
Nice.
dancing. I took some classes for them. Come on,
Really.
man, let's all dance.
Wow. Okay.
Involve them. Yeah, involve them, bro.
Even
Get
now
them
you're
on the
doing that,
board.
like
And
how
one day,
virtually.
yeah, yeah. I just switched on my computer, put on my
Yeah.
beautiful electronic speakers on, and I said,
Yeah.
today I will take your salsa. You have this single dancing called shines. Okay,
Okay.
I'll teach you all the shines. I know you people have become fat eating aloo parathas, so you just dance with me, and you can involve your family also. Let me
Okay.
see your
Nice.
family and see what is a beautiful session we are having. 1 hour session, 2 times a week, you involve them. They'll be more
Yeah.
happy and their family.
Great.
Oh, when is that uncle gonna take the class? Oh, you don't talk
Yeah.
to that uncle. Now the pressure reverses. Okay, you
Yeah.
make
Exactly.
sure that
They
the
come.
kids ask the papa or the
Yeah.
mama, when are you getting us to the session?
Yeah.
See, you have to work on the trust.
Exactly.
Or you grow on games. Like I used to be in Atir Salat, and we came to know we are the sponsors of Pakistan and Afghanistan cricket team. They are practicing these few days in this stadium. I randomly asked them all to come up with me and go and play with me a game. I took
Mm-hmm.
24 people there. And suddenly they find, Shoaib Akhtar running down the pitch.
Wow.
And they're facing them. And they can't face them. But
Yeah.
they understand something that there is always a level. So,
Mm.
they gel more with each other. Way how we can strategize. It became
Yeah.
a beautiful sprint team to just
Yeah.
try and win over Pakistan, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Rupesh,
I
sorry
think.
to interrupt. Yeah, we have I think
Go ahead.
only I think 5 minutes more. So like
Sure.
yeah, so like
Yeah.
we can discuss. And thanks Varun for sharing your insight. And please post your like
Thank you.
feedback over like channel. And so now we can
Absolutely.
continue because it will collect
Okay.
after any time.
Sure.
So till
No
the time
problem.
we can have.
Yeah, I think what I really like about Rupesh is that you want to bring in the people. That's something actually we haven't tried. I don't know how people will be open to dancing in front of everyone else. But that's a very good idea of ensuring that at least
Bro,
people or
just
families are
get
introduced.
the humor in. You get the
Yeah, yeah,
humor
yeah.
in.
So
As
we
soon as you
do
get the
that, but
humor in,
it's
the pressure
mostly
is gone.
sarcasm. Like people try to pass jokes, but nothing like this. I'm really excited
Yeah,
to
we
share more.
tried Tombola. We tried
Uh,
Tombola in our team. It was
Oh
very,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
that's
we
good.
tried that one too. Yeah,
We are having Ludo. 4 people play Ludo together. All are all of the team, man.
yeah,
One question: how will you make sure the like team members are like coming in video call? Because most
okay,
of the people are hiding behind the screen.
yeah. So
Because
we
Oh,
even
start
even
us.
I
Okay, I will give you
Rupesh
the
was.
answer. Start a mule session. I want you to sing something. Come. Who in your family comes and sings with you? Just start
okay.
with that session. Just start singing, man. Let them crack their voices in your ears. What is the problem? There are
No
different
voice.
ways to
I
get them
was
online.
yeah, I was asking like they are coming online, but they are not like most of the people are not like switching on the video. That is the problem because I introduced the games also, but still half of the team members are not attending. Then it was not good.
Yeah, let's do chat
Yeah,
per charcha
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So
Do some chat per charcha kind of thing. General
Chat,
discussion with chai per charcha.
acha chai pe
chat,
charcha. Okay,
chai
Yeah,
pe charcha.
great.
on video
yeah,
calling.
some
Yeah,
other topic.
yeah,
It has nothing to do with work, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever
you
Let's
you
start
can.
whatever
off
we are
with some
doing in
other
office.
politics.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
Sushant Singh Rajput can be one topic right now.
right, right.
Everybody will switch on.
Definitely.
Okay.
I think there are some people who always don't want to switch on. That's always there. I think we are also trying to, at least make them come online, at least on an initial meeting of the week that, just show us your
No,
faces.
you pass
Try
the
to be.
comment. Please put on your office mascara. It sorts a lot of things for me. I told them, get ready half an hour before, put on your office mascara. Lot of smileys, lot of grins, and lot of, like this faces. But
Yeah,
ultimately, almost all females came on.
yeah. I think that's a good way for your organization. For us, it's or other way around. We have a lot more men, so I don't know how that's gonna work.
No,
But
get them shaved. Ask them to shave.
all right. Well, this has been very nice. I didn't obviously know your people, but I would love to connect on you with LinkedIn or any other platforms you may have. So it would be nice to catch up and carry forward these conversations.
And Srikant, by
And
the
we
way,
have your
nice background you have.
yeah. It is like
Thank
the
you.
Aurora. Cool. Oh, we have Pavel too. Obviously, Pavel is our CTO. He is not showing himself, but yeah, there he is.
Yeah,
Cool.
it was a
Oh,
great session.
there
Thank you.
he also has a nice
I
background. Yeah.
was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
listening.
It was very
Well
great
done.
session and interactive. Like all like participate and share their thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that this is a small group, but everyone spoke. So thank you so much.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Well done.
Perfect.
So same
Thank you.
time,
Great.
same
Bye.
time tomorrow. Same time tomorrow. Like, and then
Sure.
we have
Bye.
new marketplace. So
Yes.
and new topics. Think about the new topics which you can bring. And I
Perfect.
think okay, we have time, so let's
Great.
keep continued
Yeah, of
till,
course.
till the time
I don't know.
room close.
Pavel, you want to share something? Obviously, you've listened all of us.
Um, I think we are all going to get relatively surprised how we are going to end up at the end of all of this. I'm not saying that Agile is not going to survive, but I think we might go back to initial principles and reconsider them and then reconsider how we really work. Like at this moment, I think there's plenty of things that is just not going to work from how we used to do it. And there will be dramatical changes how we want to approach that. And I don't think so that singing is going to help that much as I think that's a nice thing. And I've been to multiple singing events and dancing events in India. I don't think so it's going to save us. The challenge, I think, from our perspective, and we work with relatively strange crowd. We don't have big businesses. We don't work for corporations. We work for very early stage founders building startups. Is that for them, every single second counts because their businesses are on the line, their livelihood is on the line. This is their last savings that they've got to save their business, their families, and so on. So hence saying, oh, we will deliver something whenever we will have the ability to deliver is almost not an option. So the money and the people who are starting businesses are even under more pressure than they used to be, right? Like raising money, and this is our world, is extremely tricky at those days, right? So we'll see. I'm actually looking forward to that, because I think it might be the great storm that is going to fix a lot of stuff that, let's call it, multiple agile movements move to the wrong direction, and we might have an opportunity to have a clean slate and reconsider certain stuff. If you guys want, there is I think Scott, or I couldn't pronounce his name, he's Scottish, but I can share the link. He is doing, or he's trying to organize a 20-year Agile retrospective, because I think it's roughly now there is a 20 years of while we've been doing this mess, and I think there'll be plenty of interesting conversations there to see what's going to happen next. But I don't think so that anybody knows, and it also, the worst thing for us is we might reopen Poland, but India will get closed. We might open Poland, but our Wales office is going to get shut down, and just the amount of combinations, permutations just adds to it. But at least we now know every single person has got kids, moms, grandparents, and so on. So that's quite cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one aspect
Yeah,
of it.
I will say, I just want to say that like wherever we go, like what way we follow in future, we are not aware right now. But I think two things we have to follow is, one is the discipline, other is the transparency. These two have to be there in any way, because these two can give you even the solution of many unknown things.
I don't know. Like
Just here, I will like to just add one small note to you, sir. The thing is that whenever the situations are very, very difficult and very, very pressurizing, just add a tinge of humor. Sometimes new ideas come when the mind opens up.
Sure, I don't think so. We've got the problem with creativity, and of course the founders are coming to us because they are considering creative